I recently got in the mail a bunch of small press comics from Rick Bradford, who runs PoopSheetFoundation.com. He had a clearance sale on a bunch of small press comics, and I bought a bunch of them. This is 4 issues of Captain Optimist, which was a small press comic written by T.M. Maple, who was well known for being a contributor to mainstream comics letter columns back in the 1980s, and drawn by Alan Freeman, who famous for being the publisher of the small press anthology Slam Bang. And this is a second printing. This is from 1986. There's also a second printing. This is a second printing number 4. See, only like 50 issues of the second printing were done in 1989. And as you can see, it's just done on Xerox, a Xerox publication. There's a letter page and so on. This is a first printing of number 5. And it was from 1989. And I actually have number 3 that I bought from Rick last year or so. So I would have all 5 issues. Now, I don't know if number 5 was the last issue or not. It might be. But you can't really, look it up in the price guide or anything. There was another Captain Optimus story that appeared in Tim Corrigan's Zarkasm. That was issue number 1, I think. This is issue number 2 that I also got from Rick. These are all comics that I got from Rick Bradford, and it cost less than $30 post-paid to get all these issues. I was mainly attracted to the ones for the 1980s from members of the UFO and things like that. This actually was a 1981 story drawn by Matt Feazell, who is well known for his stick figure style, but this was drawn in a more realistic manner. Also, here was an issue of Tetragrammaton Fragments, the UFO newsletter from, I think, 1994. And you can see Jim Pack was the chairman back then. And just various columns, just like today. This is a Larry Johnson, who does Tales of Fantasy, was a UFO member at that time, and this is his column. He has some pictures from his sketchbook here. And here's another one. So these are great little things. These, aren't going to be able to get these magazines anymore, because not many of these were actually printed. Larry Johnson had a personal zine, and it was called Sphinx. He actually had 2 versions of it, one in the 1990s, and then he revived it in year 2004, I believe. This one's from 2004. This is issue number 1 of the second series. And it's basically just text, except he does have... it's printed in the same format as his current Tales of Fantasy. And it has some color illustrations inside, but it's basically about his life. It's like a blog, basically. One of the former chairmen of the UFO was Steve Keeter, and this is his comic number 4, it looks like. And, it's from 1985. It has an introduction by Steve Keeter, art by Larry Blake inside. Steve Keeter's story, written and drawn by him, and UFO checklist. And here's a story by Steve Shipley in here, and so on. That was a story drawn by Larry Blake. And there was another Steve Keeter publication. This is from the 1990s. This is just a text zine, basically like a Skeets Fan Forum and Review that he used to do, which was just letters. He had made a tape of his band and sent it out to various correspondents like Mike Tuz and Larry Johnson and so on. And he just printed the responses that he got, which is pretty cool. Jim Main, also around that time in the UFO in the 1980s, did this anthology comic called, well, I hate to pronounce it, it was Puffisit. And it's sort of an unpronounceable name. Tim Corrigan drew that illo. And this comic is from 1987. And Brian Waters, who was a regular contributor to Dickomania, did the inks for this issue. This is a Snow Bunny story, Jeff Wood's character. And so on. Jim had also done a comic called Heroic, but the name was later used by Tom Fellrath for his own anthology. This is pretty cool. The UFO checklist is here, and then inside you have a Brian Waters drawing. And this is probably from like 1987. Another Brian Waters illo, demonstrating a kind of John Byrne type influence. Whoa. Sherman Burnett was never in the UFO, but he was part of a Small Press Syndicate. And this is a comic of his from an anthology comic from 1991. And the thing about Sherman stuff I really love is it's very charming. You know, they're like homemade comics. He's well known for his Energons characters, and he does them in the mini comic style. It's a primitive style, but it's very charming because it has a homemade quality. George Stassinos is a current member of the UFO, and he was also a member of the Small Press Syndicate. And these are two of his comics that I actually had holes in my collection of his work. I was missing issue number 15 of Big George Comics, and he writes and draws this. And Big George and Friends was an anthology comic that he does, and I think he's still doing it. And again, this has work by various artists in it, so you'll see all sorts of. That's why I call it Big George and Friends. George had actually sent me 2 issues of a comic by Jerry Smith called Southern Fried, and I found them fascinating. So Jerry Smith has a kind of autobiographical style, very detailed art, kind of remind me of Chester Brown in a way. And so when I saw that Rick had 2 issues of Southern Fried on his clearance site, I bought them right up. They're really cheap too. And then he Rick threw in a free comic, Monkey Squad 1, annual number 1. And so that's pretty much it. I got all this lot for like $28. And where are you going to get something like that now, huh? I mean, where are you going to even find an issue of Captain Optimist? Or especially an issue of from 1986, I think it was. 1985, an issue of Amazing stuff. So anyways, just wanted to share that. Hope you enjoyed.